Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Cannot wait for allowing some people to take the time to roll through.
I'm tuning in from New York. So if you're in New York, holler at me.
And
um,
I'm
yeah.
down south in Atlanta, where it's already getting as chilly as it you would think you were up north right now, honestly.
I am in my cozy clothes today. My light blue cashmere and the rainy vibes is definitely feeling like I need some healing today. Yeah. How are you?
Cozy in a sweater, ready to hopefully bring some warmth and love and light to all those who need it today.
Awesome. All right. And on that note, I think let's get started.
So, to kick things off, I just want to really make sure that you all know we are here today to best show up for you in a way that we know how to be present and to open conversation to hopefully help find tools and ways to cope during this time and to also be there not just for members of your community but also members outside of it. We are not here to break down the entire Israeli Palestinian conflict because this live stream would last for many, many years and none of us have the time. We are only human, so we are not perfect. We are flawed just like everybody else, but we're going to do the best job possible to express everything we've been going through and everything from an angle of spreading positivity as much as possible during such a painful, difficult time.
Thank you for that. And, when Arielle originally reached out to me wanting to do this live, I was just reflecting on the past 2 weeks. The past 2 weeks have felt like years. I personally have family in Israel. I have friends in Israel. I have friends serving in the army in Israel. I myself was there just 2 months ago, and I have not been okay. And I've really tried my best to show up. I put up a post the other day about how I'm personally showing up, urging other people to ask themselves the same question. And it goes beyond just a post on LinkedIn. It also goes to my conversations that I'm having with people daily. And Ariel and I are definitely in constant communication about, the things that we're doing and how we can do better. And I thought that this idea to spread the light, right? I have countless people in my DMs expressing their support, and it feels really nice. And at the same time, I feel like for those who aren't in the Jewish community, who might not understand what Jews are going through right now, it might be helpful to let you in because it's mentally and emotionally, physically. I mean, it's all types of draining. Um, and I feel like sometimes it's really hard to actually for us to open up, right, to people outside of the community who aren't necessarily going through the same things and to process that trauma together. And so therefore, I feel like this is a great opportunity to kind of come together, share what we've been going through the past few weeks, how people have been showing up for us, right? Continuing to spread that light, and then highlighting also how you can help your Jewish colleagues, your Jewish friends, the Jewish community, even if you don't know any Jews, right? How you can be of service during this time and not just kind of look away and think it's not your problem, because this is all of our problem. It's something that will make us collectively stronger, hopefully, in the end. Definitely for the Jewish community, but hopefully also for our allies. So, with that, Ariel, I'm going to ask you, how have your 2 weeks been?
So thank you for kicking that off beautifully. Um, I can honestly say it has only been in more recent days and hours that I can even put into words the emotions that I've gone through. I am someone that's typically a happy-go-lucky, optimistic realist, and it has been hard for me to show up for myself in countless moments throughout the past almost 2 weeks now. It has been crippling fear, sadness. It truly is a loss for us as a people, and I have a mix of family and friends who have personally lost those close to them, but also who have not directly lost someone they know, but they are going through the same exact emotions that one would when losing loved ones. To see humanity hurt like this is unlike anything ever before. There have been hours where I'm just sitting on my bed feeling like the most helpless human possible. It's kind of a heartbreaking difficulty being in the United States during this time because you wanna be there to even just hug soldiers who are working so hard to protect. You want to be present for my family and friends who are over there right now. The One of the hardest parts was day of, and having those moments of waking up. It was during a holiday, and for those who are observant, they were not on their phones, no technology whatsoever. And because of this, and knowing that these attacks were going on, my boyfriend and I were sitting there for hours on end waiting for messages to roll through when the sun went down to just see if our loved ones were alive. And that is something that I pray that no one ever has to go through. And to wait for active statuses to pop up, all while these horrific messages are rolling through, anxiety has been through the roof. And my community in Atlanta had a beautiful moment of coming together within just a couple of days to be present and in a space for one another, where we had over 3,500 members showing up to lean on each other, from political leaders to local spiritual heads, from pastors to rabbis, you name it. And what really stood out to me was not just the healing in that moment of leaning on each other, but the fear that I've never experienced before in my existence. We Anytime a sound would go off that sounded slightly abnormal, it could have even been a drone that was capturing footage, almost like choreographed clockwork. We would all turn our heads in the same direction, shaken to our cores. And I am blessed to say that in my life, I haven't had those moments where I was looking around my shoulder every 5 seconds, worrying about walking around with my Star of David around my neck on, "Is someone going to come for me for this?" I just wanting to protect your presence in those moments. And it's been really hard to get through the mundane, to care about little things like what's on your grocery list, or even some basic moments at work of just getting things done. I work in the social media space, and it's hard to get creative or want to care about putting positivity out when you feel like you are just caving in internally. And luckily, I can say that my family and friends as of now are all safe and accounted for. Unfortunately, a dear friend to my boyfriend's family, Decal, he was fighting in the process on the Gaza Strip and managed to take out all of the people who were trying to take down his entire troop and save the lives of every single person in his unit until the last one killed him in cold blood. And to know that there are people out there who are running towards the darkness, towards the fear in ways that if I just walked up to the lands where that happened, I know that it would be hard for me to even physically walk towards it, let alone to know that they have this care to be true heroes to protect this amazing, innovative land that we have. It's one thing that has gotten me through the hardest moments where I can't even breathe and I just break down and cry. Um, they're spreading more light than ever before, and I think that's a huge reason why we wanted to show up to the day and make those who are doing the same proud and hopefully spread the same energy that they're giving to us on a day to day.
Yeah. I thank you for sharing that, Arielle. I'm so sorry to hear about the death of that soldier and close friend. I mean, nothing will make that okay. Um, one of the things I was listening to my friend Arielle Serber earlier this morning, speaking on LinkedIn Live or LinkedIn Audio, and one of the things he said was, the although it's really tough, I've never seen, the Jewish community rally the way that it has, and it will ultimately, right? Like we're getting stronger as a people, and it just shows us, right? He has so much respect, and so do I, for our ancestors who have gone through years and thousands of years of persecution, and here we are. We said never again under 100 years ago. But one of the things that has really helped me is just to see the messages coming out of the IDF. Their messages of let's stay strong, keep spreading the light. Like literally, there's a soldier who's making videos about spreading the light and just being a light for other people in the darkness. And that's the type of content myself, I've always made and continue to make. And it's something I had to get very real about with my followers, saying, "Hey, listen, like I'm not okay right now, and it's okay not to be okay sometimes." I think one of the tougher things about going through this collectively has just been the cognitive dissonance, right?
Mhm.
I was on a train last Sunday, so the day after it happened, I went to see my grandma, who I'm seeing again on Sunday, thank God. And going home from that train ride with her, watching people watch football on their phones while I'm sitting there on Instagram trying to understand how many more of my Jewish brothers and sisters and Israelis have been killed or kidnapped. And I shared about it online because it was just such a powerful moment for me. And I couldn't help but think about, Ukraine and how the country really rallied, the world rallied for Ukraine and in support of the people of Ukraine. And I just thought, wow, like I really hope that the world rallies the way that we did for Ukraine, for Israel, because it's not an organized, it is an organized mission of terrorists, but it's terrorists. It's not country to country. It's
Mhm.
terrorists targeting civilians, and that it could have been any one of us, literally. And that was a really hard thing to get past. I'm still not past it. Um, but I think that the ways that I've found comfort have been going to rallies and getting messages, like, here we are again, Miranda. It's okay not to be okay. And feeling in support, of and solidarity with my Jewish brothers and sisters. And I think it's just we have to take one day at a time. Um, I also think that, leaning on our own skills is really important. And
Mhm.
over the past few weeks, I've had several really difficult conversations with people, Jewish, non Jewish, either way, about the importance of speaking up. And one particular conversation that stands out to me has been that someone last week, we were on a sort of a community call, and this person expressed, it's hard to function right now, and kind of showing that similar feeling because there's so much happening, and like energetically war is really emotionally taxing and like energetically taxing on everyone. I recognize that. um
Mhm.
and then what this person said, it was basically, it's hard because I want to be able to get things done and to live my life, and sometimes you have to go on and say, this is not my problem, and kind of compartmentalize it. And it's really hard as a Jewish person who I've lived in New York City almost my whole life, and suddenly I'm afraid to take the subway, which is how I get around. To hear that, it's triggering because it's like, well, the silence and the is enablement, right? The silence of saying I'm against terror, the silence of, not educating yourself, it just is complicity. And I was yeah, it was triggering, but how I responded, I think, is the more important part, which is what I'm getting to. I think there is an in between. This is what I said. There's an in between, right? You can still show up and educate yourself on how to show up for the Jewish community, for anyone who's impacted by this conflict at all, without taking all of it on, right? You don't have to learn the entire history, but I think it's important to know that there this is terrorism. Um, and that, yeah, I don't want to get too political, but I think there is definitely an in between. Um, and during the Holocaust, we didn't have Israel in the IDF. That's why we're so strong, right?
Mhm. And I feel as though, like, going off of what you said, we didn't have Israel. We didn't have this homeland that, for those of us who don't even live there, we still do consider it our home. It's a space that opens us with welcome arms, and our people, our culture, our land. It it just accepts us for who we are as people, and it's always there for us to lean on. But Israel in and of itself was an innovation. People know Tel Aviv as this business capital that's filled with all these amazing startups, but it's our people's mentality, it's our land, it's that we, no matter what, keep fighting for our existence. And that's where the fire comes from, within our people. And there have been so many moments where I know I felt this. I know I've had friends who have felt this as well, where in the past couple of days we feel a certain sense of guilt, of, in a moment where you feel even more sad and more consumed in a way that you feel as though you can't function. You might feel that sense of guilt of, Well, I'm not even going and directly fighting the fight right now. I'm just sitting here in my room and I feel like I can't do anything, and it stirs up anger and sadness, and you start to question, how are my friends supporting me in these times? Because obviously a lot of people have taken to sharing educational pieces on their stories or social media. And mind you, we know and are well aware not everyone likes to post. Not everyone likes to keep up with their accounts, and that's totally fine. But I think a fear, unlike a terrible occurrence just simply happening in the world, is we're not only mourning for our brothers and sisters, but we have this instilled scary curiosity of, okay, but do my friends have my back in this moment? And it's not that always sharing on a story necessarily guarantees that, but knowing that they're willing to step up and have that conversation with you, to say that they're here for you, that they support you, that in so many moments, especially in the first couple of days, anytime anyone would ask me how I was, I would break down immediately. It was a question that I knew they were coming from the right place, but just broke my heart and shattered it over and over and over again. And I started to kind of share, and I think this applies to any difficult situation affecting a people in the grand scheme of things, but saying, "Hey, I'm checking up on you. How can I best show up for you right now in this time? What can I do to help?" Whether it's what can I do to help you? What can I do to help your community? And another thing is, what are you doing to cope during this time? I know my people at my office had been incredible in a way that unfortunately a lot of my friends in their workplaces have not necessarily experienced. My boss was incredible and reached out to me literally that Sunday to say, "I am so sorry about everything that is going on. We are here for you. Take as much time as you need during this time. I don't expect you to come into the office. Whatever I can do to make your life easier to any degree, even though I know that I can't fix the everything that's going on, tell me how I can show up." And I got many, many messages from leadership, coworkers. I had Christian coworkers come up to me crying and just expressing the pain they've been going through for our people, and finding those unique ways to say, "Let me take some burden off your plate," even if it's not solving a direct issue, but finding a way to alleviate a bit of the day to day for people right now, to not expect that they might want to show up to your birthday party on a Friday night, but they just can't muster up the courage or the energy to do it. It feels like the life was sucked out of us and put back in. And it's been a scary thing because for us, especially due to the Holocaust, we have said and preached this for years and years and years on end of never again, never again, never again. And never again is now. And that's why more than ever, even if we're not in Israel, when we're looking over our shoulders, when we're curious about these conversations we're having with people in our social circles, we want to know that we're accepted and loved and cared for by them, because it does directly impact every single one of us. And every Jewish person you know either knows someone who lives there, knows someone who was killed, kidnapped. I could go down a list. Everyone has been directly impacted, and we're all still coping with the day to day. But I think a hard thing too, and a very important thing though, that soldiers, our people, we all emphasize, is the importance to prevent the never again. It's to spread information that are educational pieces to help open people's eyes. We didn't have social media back in the times of the Holocaust. I can't even begin to imagine how differently that would have gone down if we did. But it's hard when we're on our phones and we're in this modern day and age to always be consumed with technology, when false news is spread and outlets have angles, they have reasons to compete and try to get the word out when something happens before everybody else, like a true competition or a game.
Yeah.
And it's very crucial that we all take the time before sharing pieces um, that we think to be facts beyond the sentimental, emotional support posts that are out there to really do our research before showing. Because I've had friends who have sent pieces that ended up being incorrect and then they came back and apologized of, I'm so sorry I even posted that, I didn't do my research, I was coming at you or your community in a way that I absolutely should not have jumped the gun in that sense. And it's important that we know what we're spreading around to hopefully change and impact things for the greater good, but to know that the internet can be a very dangerous place. And I know even for me, I've had to take so many breaks because watching the videos and the photos,
Yeah.
as much as there are so many people who say, I don't want to look at it at all, what a privilege that you even have the space to say, I'm gonna choose not to look at that and I'm gonna go about my day. Because as you said, it could have been any of us at that music festival. It could have been any of us walking through the streets or visiting our loved ones and being taken out of an apartment. And the thing that hurts for me the most and has been so hard to stomach through it all is knowing that it's a humanity problem and knowing that innocent children and young women and grandmothers and Holocaust survivors, that they were just living their lives. And I know they say everything happens for a reason, but it's really hard to know what that reason is at this time. But the best thing that we can do is try to take all of the energy, the confusion, the sadness, the fear, and we muster it up together and be and define what our people have always done, which is to say that these people did not die in vain. And we come together and we have that strength that we all bring to the table in anything we do, whether it's doing a mitzvah or a good deed, or you just were showing up for you today to say you're not alone in the confusion and the sadness and the heartbreak. And it doesn't just go away in a few days. I, I, yeah, it's hard to put into words.
Yeah. Well, that was beautifully shared and put. I mean, there are so many things that you said that I want to expand on. I think in the comments as well, people were really resonating with what you were saying about how leadership has been showing up for you. Gigi mentioned that. Gigi and I, she organized two chats last week, Thursday and Friday. We had space for Jewish creators and people in the creator industry and marketing as well, kind of coming together to talk about how hard it is. Not just on the talent side as a creator to say, well, I can't really share about my regular life right now, not only because I want to respect, right, like what's happening and honor what's happening, but also because I'm struggling with it myself.
Mhm,
And so that was a beautiful space that we were able to curate, but also that a lot of people aren't getting the necessary support that they might need from their leadership. I also hosted a space last Friday morning in partnership with Tamid, which is a nonprofit organization that sends students to Israel every summer to work in Israeli startups because the startup community in Israel is one of the best in the world. And we had a conversation, you know, similarly to this one, but it was, a few more people, and we were talking about how do we communicate to our employers. And so I have definitely some resources that I'm going to share. Arielle and I both have resources that we'll both be sharing in the comments afterwards. But I do want to honor, everyone showing up in the comments. We really appreciate it. Another, I think that was a beautiful segue, Arielle, as well, as to like how people can help, right? Yeah, sure, it can come out through tears, right? And saying, I'm so sorry. And I've definitely received my fair share of, I'm sorry, I'm here for you. But I also think that my response to that has also been, well, thank you so much. And I would love for you to donate to this cause, right? Magen David Adom is the Israel's basically like the Red Cross for Israel.
Mhm.
And I have a list of so many, so many other organizations that people can donate to. I mean, the outpouring of support for Friends of the IDF, which is another amazing um, nonprofit that helps the IDF get what they need. They've been doing a lot of events in New York City. Um, and also I will say, like, it's not something that I've necessarily been asking of everyone, because I know that it kind of feels like a big ask. It shouldn't feel like as big of an ask, right? But to reshare the things that I'm posting, for example. I posted a video earlier this week or last week, I can't remember. That was like how to support your Jewish colleagues right now, right? And one example I gave is, don't ask how are you, because we're not okay. Like, just the emotion that has come up for both of us in this conversation shows us that we're not okay. But what you can ask, maybe as an alternative, is, how are you finding comfort today? Creating that awareness and indication that you know that we're not okay, and recognizing that in the question itself, right? And like you said before, people reaching out to you, what can I do? That's a great question. Come to rallies, offer to get involved in posting the kidnapped signs. I don't know if you've seen these, like, they're posting, there's a huge movement. They're posting kidnapped signs all over New York City and other cities, um, to honor the victims. I went to a rally last night as well that was all focused on bringing them home. There's over 200 hostages. I mean, it's not only Israelis, it's not only Jews, it's
Yeah.
Americans, it's multinationals, it's Thai people, it's people from Nepal, it's people
Mhm.
from Indonesia. I mean, there were so many people who were taken hostage that are not only Israeli, not only Jewish, right? So it impacts a lot more people than you might think. Another one is, obviously, you mentioned the workplace, right? And I hosted a session on this, offering help to your Jewish coworkers, offering extra time off for your Jewish employees, making strong statements. This one's really big. I've seen a lot of really weak statements. I've heard a lot of really terrifying stories of my friends who have been in their companies, and they've created space, but not in a productive way, where they had a town hall, and I think the beauty industry is being called out for this. I saw a piece the other day in their mishandling of the entire situation. To not condemn terror is the wrong thing to do. Full stop. To not condemn terror. Um, Another thing is just educating yourself. Obviously, you mentioned fact checking. I would also add to that, not only fact checking, but running things by your Jewish friends, right?
Yes.
Running things by your more educated friends. I have Jewish friends reaching out to me saying, hey, can you help me respond to this person? Hey, what do you think of this person's, message to me? People are afraid to post, and I understand that,
Mhm.
because you're less educated, right? And you don't want the influx of hate coming at you, which really just sucks. But I think it is important to use whatever education you have to educate your own communities. I mean, I'm seeing it here on LinkedIn. I'm seeing it a lot on Instagram, obviously. Um, but yeah, using yeah, and people are saying things in the comments. Noah Tishby is a great resource. I have a whole list of Jewish
Mhm.
influencers to follow, which I will also add to the comments. But all in all, there are infinite ways to be here in support of the Jewish community, of the communities affected by what's happening. Israelis, I mean, obviously, that there are casualties on both sides. We recognize that. We also, one of the things that I, one of the ways that I've dealt with this whole kind of, oh, there's two sides, like I've really been trying to show up for my Jewish community. Like that's my just like anyone else, right? Like if your community is hurting, your community is going through, and not just in the States, but around the world, attacks, anti-Semitism is on the rise. I'm going to be there for my Jewish community. So allow me to do that. And don't insert your opinions. Don't say, well, what about this side? And it's like, yeah, just because you're recognizing the pain that the Jewish community and Israeli communities are going through right now does not discount that there are other communities also hurting. And I think that's really important. Just because you express your support for Israel and its right to defend itself and the Israeli people does not mean that the next day you can't post and say, hey, I feel so horrible for the atrocities of war and the fact that Palestinians in Gaza are dying
Yes.
because no one's protecting them. I mean, it's war. Um, and it's really sad that we have a Jewish state fighting an Islamic terrorist group. That's the reality of the situation. And we're praying for our soldiers. And Arielle, I want to give you a chance to say any last words that you have, and then we will say a prayer for our soldiers in Israel.
I think the biggest thing going off what you said is there is not a Jew that I know that is not already mourning for all the innocent civilians who have been caught in the crossfire of this terrible time. And like you said, we have to all show up. And for those who are not Jewish, not practicing, not observant, but wanting to get involved and show up, know that it's so important to not make assumptions. You might sit there and think, oh, well, my Jewish friends know that I care about them and I'm here for them right now. We don't know unless you say it. We don't know unless we get that call. We have that conversation. And there are ways which we will put on the page later of ways you can donate and show up in so many different categories right now, but there are even opportunities to share light and positivity with our soldiers right now. They have the opportunity to write letters to them to hopefully spread some good kindness their way, and know that it's okay to ask for help, whether you want resources and you don't feel informed, whether you're Jewish or not, whether you want to know proper conversation starters, you want resources to further educate yourself, to spread to people, to help them understand better. It does not make, I can definitely speak for both of us in this case, but it would not make us judge you in a negative way whatsoever. If anything, it is such a beautiful, encouraged thing to do, and it is a brave thing to do. And to know that we are going to have moments of continuous struggle and moments of helplessness and moments of unknowing and just not always knowing the right ways to say everything in any moment for yourself or your loved ones. There are days when you might be able to show up for your Jewish community more, and there are other days that you know that you need to rely on them, and to just please during this time more than ever, give yourself grace. If you are having a dinner with a friend, if you are in a meeting for work and something triggers you out of nowhere. It has happened to me countless times this week in very unexpected conversations. Allow yourself the space to step away and to process and to take a moment and to just be. I am so grateful for all the people who are showing up right now, whether it's for just even this, to be able to hear what we have to say today, but showing up for communities, trying your best to help change the world for the better in a time that it took a turn for the worse. And again, it's that Jewish fiery spirit of belief and just passion for all that we are, even as a culture, to come together and say, nothing will take us down, and we will come back tenfold stronger than ever before.
Amen. Amen. Before we go into the prayer for soldiers, I also want to extend my support, my love, my energy, my light, far reaching to everyone who is feeling alone right now. On either whatever your opinions about this conflict might be, at the end of the day, we all want the same things. I mean, almost all of us. We want justice. We want love. We want harmony and peace and beauty. And we're all human at the end of the day. And when I hear that my fellow Jews are receiving silence, I question that, which is so sad. And I would say that now is the time to lean in to your Judaism in whatever way that makes sense to you. Personally, over the last few weeks, I've prayed more than I've prayed or meant it more than I've ever meant it. And the will of the Jewish people is stronger than any form of hate on this earth. It's stronger than hateful words. It's stronger than rockets. It's stronger than terror. We are the most resilient people. We're 15.2 million Jews in the world. 15.2 million Jews. There are 55 Arab countries. There are 1.9 billion Muslims. And there are 15.2 million Jews. We're not going to win the social media war. But that's not the important part. Big picture, the most important part is to lean on each other because this is real. This isn't real. And when we start to talk to each other and lean on each other and go to shul and go to rallies and show up for each other, whether it's in person or it's online like this, nothing can break that. Only empathy can come from that, and understanding and love and peace and all the beautiful things that we are all praying for, most of us. So I just want to say you're not alone. Reach out, be curious, educate yourself, and at the very least, ask, how can I help? Ask, how are you finding comfort? Ask, how can I be there for you right now? And if the answer is silence, that's okay. Let it be silence because we're not okay. And I'd say the same exact thing to any group, any minority going through something similar, any struggle. Just be in support. So, with that, I'm pulling up the prayer for Israeli soldiers for the IDF. And I'm going to say it in English because it's more accessible that way. He who blessed our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless the fighters of the Israel Defense Force who stand guard over our land and the cities of our God, from the border of Lebanon to the desert of Egypt, and from the great sea unto the approach of the Arava, on the land, in the air, and on the sea. May Hashem cause the enemies who rise up against us to be struck down before them. May the Holy One, blessed is He, preserve and rescue our fighting men from every trouble and distress and from every plague and illness. And may He send blessing and success in their every endeavor. May He lead our enemies under their sway, and may He grant them salvation and crown them with victory. And may there be fulfilled for them the verse, for it is Hashem your God who goes with you to battle your enemies for you to save you. Now let us respond. Amen.
Amen.
I feel like that was a therapy session.
That was It gave me chills, it made me cry, it filled my heart with comfort of knowing that we truly are in this together, and for everyone who has been watching, know that you have a safe space and a community that welcomes you with open arms every day, always as you are, and this was everything that my week needed, especially going into Shabbat.
Agreed. Completely, wholeheartedly agree. So, with that, Shabbat Shalom. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Please like, share, comment, tag people you think should hear this. This is going to be available for people to see. It will remain on the internet forever. And Am Yisrael Chai.
Am Yisrael, hi.
All right. Love you all. Bye.